Everybody in? Well, good morning, folks, and it is a good morning. Moments ago, standing together with her wife, Sherelle, in the Oval Office, I spoke with Brittney Griner. She's safe. She's on a plane. She's on her way home. After months of being unjustly detained in Russia, held under intolerable circumstances. Brittney will soon be back in the arms of her loved ones, and she should have been there all along.
All right, guys, so we got to talk about some big news dealing with the Brittney Griner situation, because last time we heard about this situation, she was nowhere to be found, okay? I mean, we didn't know what her location was. All we knew is that she had been moved to a Russian labor prison camp to turn big rocks into little rocks, okay? To do hard labor, and it did not seem like a good situation for her. But behind the scenes, the Biden administration had been working to get Brittney Griner back home at the behest of the woke revolutionaries who don't believe in consequences or, personal accountability or responsibility. And finally, it seems like the Biden administration was successful in getting Brittney Griner released, as they announced a prisoner exchange for Brittney Griner. However, they left behind Marine veteran Paul Whelan. Again, now we're going to talk about this trade and what the Biden administration gave up. Was it a fair trade, or did Biden get finessed by Putin and the Russians? So we're going to talk about that. But before I get in that, I want to go ahead and play a quick clip from the mainstream liberal media so that you guys can get a better understanding of what's going on here in this situation and why it happened, and then we will discuss and get more into it. Take a look.
Just want to make this point here to you because I think it's important disclosure to our viewers. CBS first learned that this swap was going to happen last Thursday, and CBS News agreed that the Griner for Bout swap, which we knew was underway, that we would not report on the details of it. This was at the request of the White House, which asked us not to make it public because officials expressed grave concern about the fragility of the emerging deal and feared it would impede the safety, perhaps even put those Americans at risk. And so we are bringing this news to you first this morning, Gail, and it is certainly good news for the Griner family.
It is so exciting, and of course, we kept our word on that. Of course. We've known about it for some time. Just to see it happen and come about, Margaret, I can't tell you how excited everybody is that was pulling for Brittney Griner. This is such great news. Thank you, Margaret.
That's right, Margaret. We'll check back in with you a little bit later. And yes, CBS did hold up our end of the bargain.
DJ, I know you have been following this story since the beginning. Tell us, what have you been hearing, how all of this came about?
It came together fairly quickly, it sounds like. This is what we expected would happen, that there really wouldn't be news until she was in the air. I understand that right now, Brittney Griner's wife, Sherelle, is with President Biden as he prepares to make an announcement from the Oval Office. The news that was not great for people who are following this is that American Paul Whelan, who this month will have been in a Russian prison for 4 years, is not part of this deal. It's a one-for-one trade with Victor Bout, as you mentioned. He's serving a 25-year sentence in the U.S., but he's actually been in custody for 14 years already. The U.S. wants to continue talks to get those other Americans out. We have not heard yet why it ended up being a one-for-one trade. There had been hope for a long time that both could come home together. No word yet on Brittney Griner's her status, what her physical health is, certainly what her mental health is. But we understand that she was flown to Abu Dhabi and then is going to be sent home. Her family is just waiting to hear more and welcome her back.
You gotten any word on what precipitated this? It seemed like once she got sentenced, like, wow, she's going to be away for a long time. And then all of a sudden we get this news. What precipitated the prisoner swap?
Not sure exactly what happened, but we know that just a couple of weeks ago, a senior Russian official had made this comment that the country was seriously involved in discussions to get her back. There was a quick and somewhat unprecedented response by U.S. officials saying, "You're not engaging. If you are, act like it." There was clear frustration from the American side. So whatever was going on at the time, the U.S. government was was frustrated enough that you heard that kind of comment. Something changed in that short period of time where they finally said, okay, we've got this deal, let's do it.
Yeah, the good news is that Brittney Griner is on her way home.
All right, guys. So you seen that, you heard that. Let's read about this. President Biden's prisoner exchange with Russia secured the release of WNBA star Brittney Griner on Thursday, but left U.S. Marine veteran Paul Whelan in Russian custody. Whelan has been in Russian custody since 2018 when he was sentenced to 16 years in prison on espionage charges. Griner has been in Russian custody since February after authorities discovered vape cartridges containing a small amount of cannabis oil in her luggage. Biden's administration had initially sought the release of both Griner and Whelan in exchange for notorious arms dealer Victor Bout, a Russian citizen serving a prison sentence in America, known colloquially as the Merchant of Death. He was convicted in 2011 of conspiracy to kill Americans and sentenced to 15 years in prison. The Biden administration ultimately agreed to exchange Bout for Griner alone, leaving Whelan behind in Russia. So yeah, basically, they gave up, right? They say, you know what? We don't want to negotiate anymore. Now that you guys are actually coming to the table, we're just going to take the best offer we can get, or the first offer we can get, okay? Instead of holding out. Nonetheless, Whelan's brother, David Whelan, congratulated Griner on her release in a Thursday statement, but lamented the Biden administration's failure to release his brother. Quote, "There is no greater success than for a wrongful detainee to be freed and for them to go home. The Biden administration made the right decision to bring Ms. Griner home and to make the deal that was possible rather than waiting for one that wasn't going to happen," he wrote. She will be reunited with her family. Brittney is free and Paul is still a hostage. But how many more times do I need to write that? He continued, despite the possibility that there might be an exchange without Paul, our family is still devastated. I cannot even fathom how Paul will feel when he learns Paul has worked so hard to survive nearly 4 years of this injustice. Yeah, so the Biden administration is basically saying that they're going to try to get Paul Whelan out. But in my opinion, this was their best opportunity, and I'm very curious about what it has come down to. Right? Did it come down to, hey, you can either get Brittney Griner or Paul Whelan, but we're not doing both. Right? It's already bad enough that we're trading a Russian arms dealer, right? A guy who conspired to try to kill Americans. Okay, somebody that literally is a threat, a danger to Americans, right? We traded that guy, okay, for a person who's not even a Marine, right? Or was a veteran, okay? We traded him for a WNBA basketball star that got locked up because she decided to bring cannabis oil into a foreign country, but not the actual veteran. Again, it's kind of amazing how that works, right? When you talk about privilege, okay, these same people, these woke revolutionaries that are celebrating, right? They always want to talk about white privilege, right? Who has privilege decided, who gets second chances, who gets the benefit of doubt, who doesn't. In this situation, what we see here, right? We have a white man, right, locked up, okay, actually wrongfully detained, and then you got Brittney Griner, who arguably you could say is wrongfully detained if you don't believe that people should be locked up for weed, but at the same time, it's not our country. But whatever. This is what they're saying. She got all the attention, right? She got all the attention. She got all the love. People were begging for her to come home, and people just forgot about the other guy, right? They forgot about Paul Whelan, the guy that actually served the country. The Biden administration used all the leverage that we had, which wasn't really that much, but we had, leverage with Victor Bout, and we decided to choose the WNBA star instead of the person that served this country. I'm just saying, I understand that people are happy. I'm, not upset that Brittney Griner was released, right? Because I knew she would eventually be released. And yeah, I don't think she should be serving hard time for, cannabis. But at the same time, if it came down to her or the Marine, I think you should go with the Marine. I'm serious. Like, if you're going to make the trade, you only made the trade. You only went with her because she's the WNBA star, because that was going to get you the best press. You didn't go with that trade because it was the right thing to do, right? Or because she deserved it more than he did. You made it to try to appease and satisfy a certain group of people. But what you gave up in exchange was, again, a guy who ultimately could be a danger to Americans, right? You could ultimately end up losing American lives because of this decision that the Biden administration made. Again, for somebody who wasn't even appreciative of being an American here, right? Who actively said, I am going to protest the national anthem. I don't want to stand for that, right? I don't like America. America is terrible for gay black women. It's incredible, man. It really is, man. Every time you look, I'm not seeing the so-called white privilege, the male privilege. I'm not seeing any of the stuff that the woke revolutionaries talk about all the time. Every time I look, it seems like women are getting a pass, black people getting a pass, LGBTQ getting a pass. They all getting a pass. That's what it seems like to me. Again, a lot of people are going to be disappointed with this, and they should. I mean, because again, I mean, if it came down between, either one of them, obviously you wasn't getting both. Why did you pick Brittney Griner? Why her? She only been in there for a few months. Paul Whelan's been in there for what? At least a few years. But she deserves to come home and he don't. Again, because she dribbles a ball and because she's black and she's gay and you're going to get applause. I'm not having much faith in the Biden administration to get Paul Whelan out. They're just saying that as a way to cover, right? Don't worry. We're going to work on him. Nah, you had all your leverage, right? You had all the leverage. If they actually do get him out, I'll be pleasantly surprised. And I will actually be the first person to congratulate them. But I don't think it's going to happen. Again, that's just what they're saying to make people who understand how much of a scam this is, that they're trying to make the situation better, even though it's not. It's a scam. Biden got finessed, right? He sold out because he wanted to get brownie points from the woke revolutionaries, and he bought Brittney Griner home when he should have bought the Marine home first. And then you could have worked on Brittney Griner. But hey, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.